I'm going to start today's video off by telling a quick story. I did some traveling recently and I was returning from about 7 or 8 days on the road, and I came back and started meeting with clients on a Monday, and I worked all day Monday, all day Tuesday, all day Wednesday. And by Thursday, I was noticing just this sense of tension and a little bit of stress. I felt frazzled, a little bit of anxiety. And so on that day, on the Thursday, between clients, I had a little bit of space and time. So I shut my office door and I sat down on my sofa and I closed my eyes and I focused on just deep inhales and big deep exhales in an attempt to reroute and reground myself a little bit. And when I opened my eyes after a few minutes, I was struck, completely struck and shocked by the fact that all of the aspen trees right outside my office window had turned bright yellow. And this is my favorite time of year in Colorado, fall. All of the leaves and all the trees on the sides of the mountains look like they're on fire because they've turned these wicked, vibrant colors of reds and yellows and oranges. It's so beautiful. And so it made me a little bit sad, and it definitely caught me off guard that I had been at work all week long and I hadn't even noticed that the aspens right outside my windows had all gone completely bright yellow. So in an attempt to prepare ourselves to dig a little bit deeper with our own personal experiences with anxiety, we've been talking about tools to get us ready for that. The first of which in our first video was gratitude. The second was self-care and how to implement that into our daily lives. Today we're going to talk about the third tool, and that's this notion of mindfulness. And I know, mindfulness is this fancy, sexy kind of buzzword right now, and it's easy to sweep it under the rug as a trend or a fad, but I'm encouraging you not to do that, but rather to check in with it, figure out what it is, do some research if you haven't, and play around and experiment with it, because it really, really is a cornerstone on health and wellness, especially when it comes to dealing with things like anxiety. Recently, the oldest of our 4 kids, he's getting ready to turn 13, and he had gone to see a scary movie, and he was asking my husband and I if we had seen it or if we were gonna go see it, and we both said no, not really our jam. And he says, well, how come? And his 13-year-old macho self, he says, well, why not? I saw it, it was fine, I didn't even jump hardly. And my husband had the most elegant answer to that, and he told our son, he said, I just don't like the way those movies make me feel. While I'm watching it, after I watch it, it just doesn't feel good to me. I don't like the way it makes me feel. And he didn't offer up any further explanation or clarity. And I thought that was so beautiful. He just went inward and noticed. He was just mindful of, I just don't like the way it makes me feel. I'm listening to a podcast right now. It's super cool. There's like more than 200 episodes of it. It's called the Slow Home Podcast, and the concept is talking about slow living in this really fast-paced world. And in one of the episodes, they were talking about mindfulness, and they defined it as they're talking about what it looks like and feels like to live mindfully, and how the opposite of that is living mindlessly. And I can definitely think of times in my life where I was just bulldozing through, trying to get to the next thing and not being mindful, not pausing in my days to pay attention to what was happening, how I was experiencing things. Mindfulness at its basics is breathing, inhale and exhale, and then tapping into your 5 senses and noticing what you experience through those 5 senses. And then there's lots of layers and ways to use mindfulness beyond that, but that's the basics of it. So it's free, you have access to it 24/7, so why not check that out, right? There's a YouTube video that's out there floating around the World Wide Web of a little boy, and he looks maybe 2.5 years old, and he's in a swimming pool, and there's a white rope that kind of goes across the swimming pool, and he's holding on to this rope for dear life. Meanwhile, he's a little bit tipped on his back, and his feet are splashing and kicking, and he's flailing in this water, screaming bloody murder, fearful of his life that he's getting ready to go under and drown and die an early death. And in the meantime, you can see his mom or some woman in the background, and this little boy is just screaming and panicking and very anxious. And she walks around and she grabs his ankles and she sets his feet down on the floor of the swimming pool, which looked maybe 6 or 7 inches below him. And he stands up, and you can physically see his nervous system just chill out. And he has this awareness of like, oh, I'm okay. And I think that happens in my life personally. Sometimes I can think of moments or days or weeks or an entire decade where I was kind of flailing and just floundering through life, reacting versus mindfully responding or mindfully being aware of what was happening around me or how I was experiencing it. And sometimes mindfulness is that thing, it's that tool that grabs our ankles and sets them back down on the ground and reminds us, hey, the ground is right here and everything is okay, and I can breathe in and I can breathe out, and the sun's going to come up tomorrow and everything is all right. So I encourage you to tap into mindfulness. If you don't know what it is or how to practice it, get online, do a Google search, and check that out. GTS, Google that shit and learn about it, because that will be a critical tool in learning to have greater self-awareness and battle all of the dragons that come up for us in this life, such as anxiety. So there you go. Gratitude, self-care, mindfulness. You have your 3 tools now. Practice them, utilize them daily, and then check back, because next time we're going to start talking about what it actually looks like to explore our anxiety, get to know it a little bit better, and handle it and deal with it, and hopefully decrease it. Have a great day. I hope this has blessed you in some way today. Take care.